Hello, hello. I hope everybody's having a great day. And today, I'm going to be telling a story about doing Benadryl and DXM at Rehab. So, during this day, it was what we had at this rehab was every Thursday, I want to say, we would have one parent come with us for everyone in the group, and we would all gather around in a big circle and talk about parenting, different reasons to be sober, and shit like that. Now, I fucking hated rehab. Don't get me started on that shit. But at least I didn't go full inpatient for rehab. I had outpatient rehab. So I would show up after my school day. So I didn't have to, make up all my school shit that I missed afterwards. So this day, and a couple of weeks prior, me and one of my friends from this rehab, I'm gonna call him. We're gonna go with Drake for this. Now Drake and I were some demons, and we did not want to be sober at rehab. We would pull up faded. We would get faded at rehab. We'd get drunk. We'd get fucking cross. Bro would even pull up fucking tripping. He did not give a fuck. But we were getting a little broke. We didn't have money. And I, of course, knew the method of the over the counter, um, medicine that you could see some funny shit on. And most of the time, they don't test for these here, and they didn't test for these at this rehab. So you could just completely get away with it, and they wouldn't know at all. I mean, you would look super out of it, but your tests would come back negative, so they just think you're tired. My rehab did not know at all that we were doing this shit until after my parents found out, and then they started snitching on us, which was unfortunate, because it was the go-to method. But on this day, I pulled up to rehab, off a little bit of substances, not the usual. I mean, of course, I had my vape, which they didn't really care about nicotine at this rehab because there were people in there for fentanyl abuse. They didn't really care about that here. So I brought Benadryl with me so that way Drake could get some because me and Drake were the homies. But what I did was maybe 15 minutes before I left, sorry, grammar. I drank a full bottle of fucking NyQuil. I know, worst way to do it. That shit is terrible. And I used it to down 24 Benadryl. So that way I could get a little bit crossed off of two terrible substances that can easily shut down your liver and kidneys. But it was kind of fire. So I was like, fuck it. And that shit did not go down easy. And let me tell you, do not do this shit with NyQuil ever. Specifically, I mean, yeah, don't do DXM. That shit is terrible for you. But I was on my 1 week DXM binge at this point. I did DXM for a week straight, and the come down was fucking ass. But this was about midway through it, so I hadn't been sober from DXM in about 4 days. So I pulled up off of this shit, and I was like, "Yo, Drake, I got you with the Benny, bro. Dab me up, let me hit his fiend," and I just slid it to him like I fake handed him my phone. I was like, "Look at this meme," because we're getting watched 100% of the time. But I sneakily handed him the Benny under the phone, like a full case. Bro pocketed that shit after looking at the fake meme I put up. I deadass just handed him a phone with the screen turned off. But they didn't know because they weren't fully paying attention. But they saw me hand them the phone, so it was pretty genius. Because they probably would get a little bit mad if I just full on handed Drake here a fucking box of Benny. So Drake goes to pop it, and this is when I start fucking tweaking. I'm starting to see the walls start moving a bit, not in the good ways like acid. No, I'm seeing the wall worms, the fucking ceiling worms again, as per usual. And yeah, so like I said before, this is where my parents were actually there as well, or just my mom this day. And she has to sit right next to me for this group. So I come in here and I'm fucking tweaking, bro. She doesn't know yet, but I'm like, I see the shadow people dancing behind the therapist at this point. It was fucked. And the main therapist at this rehab, he was pretty chill, but he didn't really like it when we were fucked up at rehab. That's like the whole point of going, is to not be fucked up. But um, I don't know. He didn't know yet. So I was tweaking, and um, my fucking homie Drake was just sitting there, and it was starting to kick for him as well. So I see his eyes drooping a bit, but I swear I saw shadow people like dancing behind my therapist, and my mom's face was like all fucked up and distorted. It was really weird. It was like a bad acid trip almost. And I remember certain things. Like, I kept passing out in the middle of the thing, so they thought I was being disrespectful, but really I was so fucked up that I was in and out of consciousness, so I would just pass out randomly. And the therapist would be like, "Hey, hey, low life, wake the fuck up! You can't sleep during group. It's disrespectful." I was like, "Oh, sorry, sorry." And he was like, "Yeah, you gotta pay more attention." And I was there like, "Yeah, yeah, of course." As I'm saying that, I'm looking at him, and his eyes are fucking black, and there's like shadow people crawling under his chair. It was fucking wild. And I actually went to go get canes with my mom because we had two breaks during the session. They would last, I think it was 15 minutes, maybe 20. And so me and my mom went to get canes because there's a canes right like around the area. I was like, fuck yeah, this shit slaps, bro. Raising Cane's underrated. People say it's worse than Popeyes, but when you're fucked up on something and trying to eat something hella seasoned will make you throw up. So eating something more plain, like some chicken that's unseasoned, yeah, that's a white ass thing to say. But when you're fucking on something that just fucks up your stomach, it's perfect. So I was chilling. We got canes. My mom's starting to realize I'm a little out of it because I'm like just not talking to her and not looking at her. And she's like, "Lil life, are you good? Do you want to go home?" I'm like, "No, yeah, I'm good to stay here. I'm just tired as fuck. I didn't sleep at all." And she's like, "Okay." So we go back, and I'm eating my canes, and the therapist is talking about some shit about relapsing, and I'm over here dead ass relapsing as he's talking about it. Like, I don't give a fuck, man. I'm just here to have a good time. And Drake is tweaking next to me because we were sitting next to each other. He was passing out, I was passing out, so they start to get a little suspicious. Now, not the therapists I'm talking about. I'm talking about our parents. The therapists were not paying attention enough. They're not very good at their jobs sometimes. But my mom kept just staring at me like, "What did you do? What did you do, my life? Did you do some fucking a lot of weed or something?" I was like, "No, no, I'm you can see on the drug test. It's gonna come back." She's like, "Are you on Benadryl?" And I hesitated. I was like, "No." She's like, "Why? Why'd you hesitate?" I was like, "I'm tired. Can you just let me be? I'm trying to pay attention." So she lets me pay attention, but by this point, she for sure fucking knows. And I'm busted, and my homie Drake is for sure busted. And we get going after group. I was still seeing the shadows. And on the way back, I'm looking in the rear view, and I swear half the cars, I'm looking through their windshields, and nobody's driving the cars that I'm seeing, or there will be like a demented ass demon looking person driving the car. It was fucked. Like, I dead ass do not know how I saw that. Like, I thought I would see the cars fucked up. No, it was normal cars with either ghost drivers or people with fucked up faces or just like monsters in the driver's seat. And I was tweaking a bit. So my mom keeps seeing me like snap my head back and forth over and over again, like I feel like someone's watching me. And she's like, "Well, are you okay? You seem really paranoid." And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I know you did something. I don't know what you did, but we're gonna see on the drug test." I was like, "I didn't do anything. I'm just tired, and I feel like someone's watching me." She says, "Okay." So we get home, and sorry, we get home, and my mom just tells me to go to bed, sleep it off, whatever, get some actual sleep. And the next morning, my drug test comes back negative, even though I did some fucked shit. So she doesn't really know. I mean, she knows I was for sure out of it, so she thinks I did something that doesn't come up, but she doesn't know. So she just lets go of it. But I go to rehab again the next day, which Thursdays were the last days of the week, so that would be Monday. And my homie Drake was telling me about shit because I blacked out pretty far into it. That's why I didn't get too in detail after the first bit of the session that I had. And Drake was like, dude, when you came back from Canes, you were telling me that you saw people and you wanted to chase them and you just started running down an empty hallway barking at like random shit. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds about right. And bro was just telling me about like the most fuck shit I was doing. Like I was passing out, of course, and I kept passing out. He said I passed out for like 20 minutes right next to my mom in front of the therapist. And he just didn't give a fuck. Like he gave up, he didn't care anymore. He's like, whatever. Low life is just sleepy, I guess. And and he was telling me about like he saw faces in the ceiling. So he was staring at the ceiling next to his mom, and his mom just kept staring at him and like looking at him all frightened and shit. So yeah, he's his mom thinks he's fucked up on something. She's just staring at him and keeps tapping him, and he's just staring at the ceiling, like talking to the ceiling, and he's seeing like faces in the walls and shit talking to him. Like he's full on nightmare tripping because I think he did like 30, which is fucked. I genuinely don't know how he remembered things. I think either he heard it from other people and then told me the next day, or he, it was because I also did DXM. I'm not really sure, but I lost a big part of my memory from that night. And goddamn, let me tell you, I kept chugging that DXM for another 3 days. Like, I mean, over the weekend, and Monday was the first day I came down. I was at rehab again. Let me tell you, worst come down you'll ever have in your fucking life. Do not do DXM. If you're gonna do that shit once and then chill. Like, chill off of that. Because my stomach felt like it was doing fucking Mortal Kombat combos on me. It felt like I got uppercutted and juggled, except it was my stomach. And my stomach was fighting for its life. And I felt like my liver had like a hole in it or something. It felt like part of my liver was missing. Like the area around my liver. It felt like it was just gone. Like there was a hole in my fucking stomach. It was really weird. And I just felt like nothing was real, of course. Like I said, you get the Benny come down. You feel like life is a goddamn reality TV show, so you start doing fuck shit. So I was an absolute demon in rehab on Monday. And I was going off. I was telling them, like, yo, I used to take Benadryl in here, and I would see the shadow people run past the windows and jump through the door. And my therapist was like, okay, low life, you can't be doing that, man, but that's kind of funny. Like, my therapist was kind of chill with it. He just didn't want me to keep doing it, because he knew I abused the fuck out of it by this point, like my parents had told him, because they found me that weekend, actually, with a box of Benadryl that was just downed. It was gone. They looked in my closet, and there were just, like, empty pill capsule things, because it wasn't the bottle. It was the ones where you have to take out each individual pill. And they just found like 3 empty sheets of 12 in my closet, just sitting there. I didn't try to hide it. I was too fucked up, I think, when I did it, so I just left it there. So I was, telling them the stories. I was telling them type of shit I saw. And like, I never want to get sober. When I turn 18 and move out, I'm just gonna go get fucked up every day and do cocaine. Like, I did not give a fuck. I was an absolute demon. So, yeah, if you're ever going to do DXM or Benadryl, just be really careful with it, because not only can you have liver and kidney failure, you can for sure die, of course, but the come down is terrible. I had to take a break from everything because whenever I hit a vape or something, it felt like I was going to throw up for just nothing. Well, not for nothing. It was because I was fucking hungover from a week of DXM binging. That shit is terrible for you, but, I mean, it was funny. It was pretty funny tripping on that shit in rehab, It was a goddamn experience, and this was the first time I ever got crossed on both Benny and DXM, which is the most high schooler type shit you'll ever fucking hear. If you hear someone say they did DXM or they did Benadryl, they're broke or they're a high schooler and they have nothing left. If you hear them say they did both, they're just down bad. Like, I was down bad as fuck. I had no acid. I was like, let's hardcore fucking trip on nightmare drugs. Let's do it. It'll be funny. And man, it wasn't really that funny. I mean, it made for some good stories, of course. Like, me and Drake would do this shit all the time. We'd just pop Benny, and we'd be in groups sitting next to each other, like, talking about what we see. And it was almost like we had synchronized hallucinations where we would both look at the door and look all wide-eyed when I would hallucinate it shaking a bunch, but nobody else saw it. So we would hallucinate the door jittering open and someone running in and then running back out. But it was a goddamn experience. Man, Drake, you were the best homie to trip with. And that's hilarious because I tripped with you at Rehab, which being a good trip buddy just normally is fire, but at Rehab as well, man, that is a rare gem and a fucking like a gold mine, bro. That bro was like rare and I loved it. So yeah, Drake was my homie. He helped get me through shit. I mean, I wouldn't ever recommend doing DXM or Benadryl. Doing both is a death sentence. I'm surprised I didn't die in rehab that day because I was fighting for my life in that fucking chair during that. But I'm just gonna say would never recommend doing this in your life. It is terrible for you, and the come down is the worst come down I've ever had. I mean, even the weak DXM binge, but that being combined with a Benadryl come down made it even worse. So yeah, I mean, just stay away from this. If you don't have money, just go make some money and then buy some weed or buy some fucking acid if you're gonna try to trip, because tripping on this shit is terrible for you. It's not worth it and it will traumatize you. So yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry I didn't upload anything yesterday, but we back. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next one.